Hello, my friends, and happy Thursday. It's another beautiful day. And this is our last video for the next 2 weeks. I just wanted to let you know, just in case, if you don't stick around till the very end, and I'm sure I'll do a preview of everything that's coming up. But I don't want to forget to let you know that after this video, in fact, first thing tomorrow, we're going on vacation. And I'm super excited about this bracelet. I don't have a segue. I'm just excited because, of course, Larimar is super, super special to us, to me and Tony, because it is our honeymoon stone.
Fonda says, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Hi, Fonda. And I hope you're having a wonderful evening, my friend. So we have this bracelet in 3 different colorways, and I called it Under the Sea. They're all just a little bit all oceany, some more so than others. So of course, Larimar is the very iconic ocean stone. Even the name has ocean in it, or mar, which is of course sea in Spanish. And the person who found it named it for his daughter and the sea. And her name, of course, is Lari, and Mar is ocean. So I do love Larimar. It is absolutely gorgeous. When you look at it, you can literally see the ocean in it, those gorgeous patterns. And so I combined the Larimar with pearls, with these little tiny, almost seed pearls. They're about 3 millimeters. And then the next one is Kambaba and black spinel. This is not quite as oceany, but you know, it just use your imagination a little bit, and it's like the sea green depth of the sea.
Karen says, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Karen. Good evening.
Lino says, happy Thursday, everyone.
Hi, Lynn. Happy Thursday, my friend. All right, ladies. So, and then last but not least, we have blue chalcedony and Amazonite. Also, one of my favorites. I love all those shades of blue and slightly green or teal. And of course, the blue chalcedony is a little bit periwinkle, so that really appeals to me. I do love that shade of kind of blue purple. In fact, it's not a necklace, but I'm wearing a kind of a silvery gray shirt today. And here, I'll just show you really, really quickly. So just imagine that it is a necklace, and this is what it would look like on a light gray. And I do love shades of gray, so this is a really wonderful complement if you're wearing gray. So here are my 3 colorways, and this time we just named them for the stones that are in each of the bracelets. So I think we're just going to get started.
Kim K says, happy Thursday, everyone. Happy Thursday. I hope everyone is doing well.
Hi, Kim. Thank you so much. Well, I know we are doing well. I hope everybody who's watching is doing wonderfully.
Allie says, hi, everyone. As usual, these are lovely, Irina.
Oh, thank you so much, Allie. You're always so sweet.
Pammy J says, good evening, Irina, Tony, and all.
Hi, Pammy J. Hope you're doing well. Okay, ladies. So what do you think? Should we get started? I say yes. I have a lot to tell you. These are very, very simple. but there are just a couple of little quirks. So let me get started. I will be making the blue chalcedony and Amazonite bracelet today, but I will make just a little tiny part of the Larimar bracelet, and there's a really good reason for that. The holes in the stones are not the same size. So the blue chalcedony and the Kambaba are very similar, and so these are going to be made exactly the same. And the Larimar will vary just a little bit. So let's do it. Okay, ladies, so when you open your kits, and I notice that some of you have already ordered your kits, so this is what you're going to find. You're going to find a little segment of chain, and so we're going to cut that right away. And you may not quite know how long you're making your bracelet. I believe you can make this bracelet up to 9 inches. So most of us don't actually need a 9-inch bracelet, but you don't actually have to decide that right this moment. So what I am going to do is, instead of deciding my exact length of bracelet, I am just going to cut it so that one side is a little shorter and one side is a little longer. And this is so that we actually have the extender chain built in. So let me show you. I'm just going to show you on the blue chalcedony. So what I mean by the extender so what I mean by the extender chain being built in is, you know how the extender chain works. The reason we like our little bit of an extender chain on our bracelets is so that we don't have to commit to the exact length. So that if you're making it for somewhere else, or even if you're just making it for yourself. In fact, okay, so let me tell you a little story. Just the other day, there was a lovely lady in the store. In fact, you know who you are. You had that absolutely gorgeous embroidered bracelet. And what she shared with us, and of course everybody was just oohing and eyeing over this bracelet. It was stunning. And she said, yeah, I love this bracelet, but I can't wear it. It's too big for me because I lost 100 pounds. And sure, it's unusual, but it does happen. We lose a little weight, we gain a little weight. Some days we just feel like we want to make our bracelet a little looser or a little tighter. It also depends where on your wrist you're going to wear the bracelet. So if I wear it a little higher on my wrist because I have multiple other bracelets that day, I'm going to want it a little larger. So that is why I really like the idea of an extender chain. So in this case, the extender chain is actually not a separate entity. It's part of our chain, which is why I'm suggesting just go ahead and cut one a little longer and the other a little shorter to begin with. How much longer, how much shorter, that is up to you. On this one, on the blue chalcedony with Amazonite bracelet, I have 5 extra links. On my Larimar bracelet, I only have 3 extra links. So it's really entirely up to you. So you can measure the chain, or maybe just hold the chain so that you can kind of tell where the center is, and then just cut. Now, oh, sorry. I'm being very casual about it because I know I will not require the entire length. But if you feel that you do, maybe just go ahead and measure.
Cherie says, hello, Irina and Tony. Got my Larimar kit today, so happy.
Yay! Hi, Cherie. I'm so happy that you're happy. Yay.
Allie
Wow,
says,
that actually came very quickly. Oh, wait a minute. You bought it today. You didn't actually get it in the mail yet today. Well, I'm sure you will be happy once you get it. So, okay, so I cut my chain into a longer segment and a shorter segment. And now I'm going to use my Ceylon and tie it to one of the segments. So remember how I referred to the hole size, and the Larimar beads have a slightly larger hole. So I will demo the Larimar separately. In fact, maybe I'll do this one and then I'll demo the Larimar right away. So for the blue chalcedony as well as the kambaba, we're only using one side of the Ceylon. So when you open your kit, you will find 20 inches of Ceylon. With the Larimar, it's going to be a little different. So I'll keep you in suspense for the next couple of minutes. Okay, so in the meantime, once we wrap our Ceylon around the chain, we're just going to tie a knot. So this is just a way to connect to the last link of our chain. So all I'm doing is just tying an overhand knot with both ends to secure the Ceylon to the chain. And we want the knot to be fairly close to the chain link. However, it doesn't have to be right next to it. So in fact, it's kind of a good thing to leave just a little bit of space, because we will be covering it with a little crimp or knot cover. And so it's good to have just a little bit of extra space.
Katie says, happy Thursday all. Glad to finally link to the video.
Oh, yay! Hi, Katie. I'm so glad that you were able to link to the video.
Pammy J says, good evening, Irina, Tony, and all.
Hi, Pammy J. I think we already said hi to Pammy J, but we'll just say hi again.
Some of these come in later.
Gotcha.
Allie says, love your necklaces you're wearing.
Oh, thank you so much, Allie. Okay, ladies. So, of course, we want to glue the knot. We don't want the Ceylon to unravel. We want this to be nice and strong. So we're going to use a little bit of the super new glue and put the glue on the string. So never ever directly on the knot, but just a little bit on the string. And you can see the color of the string change as the glue runs down right to the knot. And I know I've said this in multiple videos, but I will say it again, because it's really important to not over glue. When you over glue, what happens is the glue runs down to the knot, and then it just keeps going onto the working side of the string. And we want to avoid that, because if you have the glue, if you have so much glue that it actually seeps into the working side of the string, it will become brittle. And then eventually it will break in that spot. So we only let it run down to the knot, and that's it. And what I do is I always have a little piece of paper, so that if it looks like I have too much glue, I will just whisk it away with the little piece of paper. So in the meantime, because super new glue dries so quickly, it's already dry, and I am going to cut off the excess string, leaving only the working side of the string.
Kathy H says, hello from Helena, Montana.
Hi, Kathy from Montana.
Lorraine says, happy Thursday, Irina and Tony.
Hi, Lorraine, and happy Thursday to you.
And Julie says, hello.
Hello, Julie. Okay, ladies, so you remember our little finding friend, and this is the knot cover or the crimp cover. And so what we're going to do is put this right over our knot and then promptly close it so that it looks just like a little round bead. So here we go. The knot fits in very, very easily. I'm using 4mm crimp covers. You can see the knot in there. And now I'm going to use my flat nose pliers and just bring the two sides of the knot cover together. And we're going to hide that knot with a beautiful little round bead. Okay, just about there, but as you can see, we still have an open seam. So now, in order to close that, we're just going to work on one side at a time. So from this position where we're squeezing both sides, we're going to go to this position with our flat nose pliers, and we're only going to press on just the one side. Okay, it's a bit slippery, ladies. So we're only pressing just on the one side of the crimp cover. So can you see it's ever so slightly closer now? And now we'll turn the whole thing around and we'll press on the other side. And so the goal here is really to minimize the appearance of the seam or that gap. So it's almost gone at this point, but if you want to, you can finesse it a little bit and just keep turning it and keep squeezing it a little bit with our flat nose pliers. So this is, a finessing kind of step. And sometimes, I don't know if you can tell, sometimes one side will kind of slide along the other side. So I will course correct by squeezing it in the other direction. And then we'll just reclose the seam. And this is looking pretty good. Look at this. It just looks like a round bead.
Jeline says hello.
Hi, Jeline, and thanks for joining us. Okay, ladies, so now we're going to start knotting. And I actually enjoy the look of the string when it comes to these bracelets. I feel that it separates the beads and it brings an extra little bit of contrast to the beads. So, for example, in between the Larimar beads, we see a little bit of white. In between the Kambaba, there's black Ceylon. And in between the blue chalcedony, there's a slightly darker periwinkle color. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because we are going to make surgeon's knots today, and that is going to give us slightly more decorative, larger knot. So this is how you make a surgeon's knot. First, of course, we have to string our bead onto the Ceylon, and then we're going to create a loop, and this would be just a regular overhand knot. However, if we take the string and we put it right back through in the same direction, we put it back through the same loop, and all of a sudden it's a slightly more decorative surgeon's knot. And I really like making these because not only are they a little bit larger, but they also look a little bit more statement-like, and they separate the beads a little further, and I really like that look. So we're just going to continue stringing and knotting our beads.
Cherie says, I bought a crimp pliers. Will it be easier? I think for the knot covers is what she's asking.
You know what? Is it Cherie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for asking, Cherie. I know that some people will use crimping pliers to close the crimp covers. And I tried it once, and I did not like the result. But that is just me. I have heard from multiple people that they have success with the crimping pliers. So I'm just going to say, why not try? Until you try, you just don't know. So my experience is not necessarily going to be the same as yours. But personally, my preference is using flat nose pliers for the larger 4mm crimp covers, and then for 3mm crimp covers I generally use the chain nose pliers. So that's what works for me. And maybe let's ask the chat. Has anyone, ladies, has anyone used the crimping pliers to close your crimp covers?
Lino says the surgeon knot also keeps your thread in a straight line. It's more noticeable when knotting leather.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So yes, I have done several videos where we're knotting leather, and really for me, the only way to knot leather is using the surgeon knot, is because it does keep it in a straight line. When it comes to Ceylon, okay, we're a little bit stuck here. And I did not make a self needle, and we could, we could make a self needle for something like this, and then you will not get stuck. So, but I made kind of like almost a self needle. You saw I just cut it at an angle, and look, it worked. So, yes, the Ceylon will not actually kink like leather does, but certainly when knotting with leather, I feel like this is a must. Okay, so you get the idea, and I will come back to this in just a second. However, I feel like we've done a little bit of knotting, and this is a good time to talk about the Larimar. So I am just going to say that when you open your Larimar kit, and several of you have already ordered your Larimar kits, so when you open that, you will actually have 30 inches of Ceylon as opposed to just the 20 inches of Ceylon. And that is because you will be using double the string. So I will show you the strategy for the Larimar.
Allie is wondering if the coin-shaped beads are faceted.
Yes, thank you so much, Ellie, for asking. So the blue chalcedony is faceted. The Kambaba and the Larimar are not faceted. They're smooth. So, and I will say that the faceted blue chalcedony is going to be just a little bit more flat than the other two. So if you like a little bit more puffy, that would be the Larimar and the Kambaba. And if you like a little bit more sparkle, that would be the blue chalcedony, of course. So if you happen to get the Larimar, this is what you're going to want to do. So find the center of your string, of your Ceylon, and instead of having one of these, a working side and the other one we cut off, we're actually not going to cut anything off. So instead, this is what we're going to do. We are simply going to tie a knot with both ends, and we're doing this right in the center of our string. And so we'll tighten that. Again, we don't want to be super close to the chain. I like leaving just a little bit of space. And we are going to, again, do the same exact thing, which is use a 4mm crimp cover to put it over the knot, so the knot goes right inside the crimp cover. And again, I'm just going to use my flat nose pliers. And yeah, please let me know if anybody has used the crimping tool for closing the crimp covers. I'm just very curious. And what was your experience if you have? So I am again just going to one side of the crimp cover and then the other side. And this is coming together really nicely. I know there's a few times, you know, flipping it around, but I feel like the result is very well worth it. So here's what it looks like. And so now when it comes to actually stringing our Larimar and knotting it, it's a very similar strategy, but not identical. So here's our Larimar bead. You can see that nice wide hole. And, you know, I am just going to cut this at an angle, just so that it's very easy to go through the bead.
Cherie says, I bought crimp covers from you. I'll try it out.
Oh, yay.
And she says they are crimp cover pliers. I didn't make myself clear.
Oh, they're crimp cover pliers. You know, I have seen those, absolutely. I don't remember if I've ever actually tried using them. So please let me know how you like them. Because if they're wonderful, then surely we'll get them in. Okay, guys. So now that I have my bead on the string, and again, it's a double string this time, and it's really very similar, except that this time I am not making surgeon's knots. I am just doing very simple overhand knots, because with the double string, the knot is going to be quite large as it is, and I don't think I want to make it even larger yet. So this is what it looks like. And maybe we'll just do one more, and then we'll go back to working on the Blue Chalcedony bracelet.
Cherie says, I'll let you know.
Thank you so much, Cherie.
Lori says, good evening, Irina and Tony.
Hi, Lori, and good evening to you. All right, my friends, so one more knot. So again, we're just using the double string to knot, and we're going for those nice big knots right next to our bead. And of course, the way to get there is just keep the knot right next to the bead. Don't let it get away, and this way you don't have to guide it back to the bead. And really, it's a very similar strategy, but I felt like we need to point out the slight difference.
Charlene says, I only use my crimp pliers to close my crimp covers. I just have to be very careful not to mar the covers.
Yes, you know, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that was my experience. I felt it's just very easy to mar the cover. And so for that reason, I prefer my way. But, you know, we could always explore other things. Just like for many, many years, I felt that I don't really need bail making pliers. And then once I tried them, now I can't even live without them. So, yeah, if we find a better mousetrap, it's a good thing for everyone. Okay, ladies, so I just have one bead to go. And I'm going to string my last bead onto this. And now I will liberate my chain. So this was just for the purpose of demoing the Larimar. But we're actually going to need our chain for this project. So we are going to knot to the other end of the chain. And again, I know I've said this, I'm being super redundant, but it is only the Larimar that needs the double seal-on. The Kambaba and the blue chalcedony are just a single length of seal-on that goes through all of the beads. Okay, ladies, so now we're going to tie our beads onto the other side of the chain. And this time the overhand knot is just not going to work. So whatever works for you, just, you know, whatever works, just make it happen. What works for me is a half hitch knot. And because we have those nice big crimp covers, I am leaving about 4 millimeters between the last bead and my chain. I hope you can see that nice large gap. And a half hitch knot is just not going to hold on its own. And by the way, whether you're making the blue chalcedony, the Kambaba, or the Larimar, either way, as far as I know, you're going to need to make half hitch knots. Okay, so I just made 2. And as I mentioned, half hitch knot is not going to hold on its own. So we always have to glue it. And again, I'm using my super new glue, and you've seen this many, many times by now. I just put it on the non-working side of the string and let it run down. And sometimes I just kind of guide it gently just to the knot. I never want to see that discoloration on the working side of the string because I don't want it to get brittle and eventually break. So it will just take a couple of seconds for this to dry. In the meantime, I'm going to grab another crimp cover and let's see if it's ready. Oh yeah, it's ready. So we're going to trim the string and put the crimp cover right over the knot. And I know you guys have seen this like a million times by now, but it's an important technique that I use a lot. I use it with crimps, I use it with knots. It's just a really good way to make everything look nice and finished and hide those little knots. Not that they're that unsightly, but the thing is, if we're gluing it, it means it's going to be kind of a little bit sharp. You know, the glue makes it stiff, and I don't like feeling that on my wrist. I would rather cover it up and have it be a little bit of a mystery, like, wow, how did she attach that? That's amazing, right? No, but seriously, it's just really about finishing everything in a professional way, not having any scratchy little ants poking us in the wrist. It's a good thing to do. Okay, and I'm almost done. All right, and here is our little round bead. So now that we have created this much of the bracelet, we kind of need to decide just what length this is going to be. And of course, we could measure it. If you know the size you need, you could just measure it. That is completely fine. What I like to do is I will wrap it around my wrist. And, you know, I love that color. I actually even like it next to my turquoise bracelet, but I like it on its own too. So I will wrap it next to my, around my wrist rather, and then decide. And again, you know, everybody's comfortable with measuring differently. If you know, for example, that you wear, say, a 7-inch bracelet, well, let's figure it out. So the beaded part of the bracelet, and I think we will include those little, at this point, they look like round beads, but they're actually crimp covers. So the beaded part is 3¼ inches. So let's say we are making a 7-inch bracelet, right? So we are going to be using a lobster clasp. We're going to be using a jump ring to attach our lobster clasp. And this is going to add about 1/2 inch. So keep that in mind. However, you know, it's always good to err on the side of a little bit too large and a little bit too small. And then again, we also have our extra little bit of chain, which is going to be the extender. Okay, so there are a lot of variables here. So if we subtract from 7 inches, right? If we subtract 3¼ inches, and then we also subtract 1/2 inch for the lobster clasp with the jump ring, we get 3¼ inches, right? Okay, are you guys with me? Please let me know. So now we're down to 3¼ inches. Well, okay, so if we say we need to add 3¼ inches worth of chain, and then we know we have chain on one side, and then we have more chain on the other side, then we will just say that it needs to be, let's see, 1½ plus 1/8, whatever measurement that is. But I like to add a little extra. We can always subtract later. So I will say 1½ plus 1/4. It's just so easy to open your jump ring again and redo it and make it a little smaller rather than add to it. So I will say we will have 1¾ inches on one side. Okay, are you guys following this? Are you following the math? Is this too much math? Because, you know, the other way, like I said, we could simply wrap it around our wrist and wing it, which frankly, when I do it for myself, that is what I do. I do a lot of winging, but I feel like, you know, not everybody's a winger, so I like to explain it both ways. Okay, so on this side, okay, I know right now, no one is letting me know. I just need to know if this made sense or didn't make sense, because then I'll paraphrase it. So on this side at this point, I have 1¾ inches of chain. And on the other side, remember, we're going to have a little bit of extra extender. So I am just going to make it, okay, so here's our 3¼ or I'm sorry, 1¼ Okay, I confused myself, you guys. Let me know if I confuse you as well. 1¾ is what I mean. And then I decided I want 5 extra links. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And everything else has to go.
Fonda says makes perfect sense.
Thank you so much, Fonda, because sometimes I start figuring these things out and I confuse myself.
Katie S says, never too much math for me. Well, maybe not calculus anymore.
I know, same.
Kim K says, I usually wing it. Most of the time it works out.
Awesome. Yeah, winging is more fun, right?
Lori says, may I please ask if you sell a certain bead on the Friday AM Live?
Absolutely. You are more than welcome to ask, Lori. I love questions. However, I don't know if you heard, I will not be back with the Friday videos, or for that matter, with the Thursday videos until the first week in September. So my next Thursday video is going to be September 5th, and my next Friday video is going to be September 6th. But certainly, if you want me to include something, this is a wonderful time to ask.
Cherie says you are clear, Irina.
Thank you so much, Cherie. Thank you, ladies. So in the meantime, I am going to open this little jump ring. This is a 4mm 18 gauge jump ring. It's nice and heavy. It's just, I love these little jump rings. Okay, so let's open it using a flat nose and a chain nose. We're going to connect our lobster clasp, then we're going to connect the whole thing to the short end of our chain. So the short end, because of course the long end is our extender chain.
Helena says, hi, for a larger size, would you suggest one more bead or more chain?
Helena, thank you so much for asking, and it's so nice to hear from you, my friend. So I would suggest, I guess it could go either way. If and when you get one of these kits, you get exactly 7 beads and lots of chain. So I guess if you're getting the kit, I would suggest more chain. However, otherwise you can do it however you want to do it. You can do more beads, you can do less beads. It kind of works either way. Okay, ladies, so now we're going to measure, or not measure, but actually clasp the bracelet. So as you can see, I'm just going right into the chain link. And so it works nicely. I might have a few too many chain links for my extender, but that's okay. I don't mind a longer extender. And who knows, this may be with somebody, for somebody with a different wrist size than mine. So, however, I will say, if at this time you feel like it's just too long, you can certainly shorten both sides. So just experimentally try it on, see how you like it. If you don't like it, make it shorter. So it's a good thing to go in smaller increments rather than just chop it all off, because you can't add to it.
Althea says, sorry I was out, but I'll watch the replay later.
Hi, Althea. It's so nice to hear from you.
Lori says, lepidolite, strawberry quartz, and blue lace agate. Thank you so much. I hope you have a good time.
Oh, thank you so much, Lori. Beautiful suggestions. So I will say I will try to include those in the September 6th video. However, if I don't include, maybe I might include 1 or 2 and maybe not all 3. And whatever I don't include, I will make it a point to include it in the video the week after. So thank you so much. I always appreciate your suggestions, ladies. If anybody else has a suggestion, please do. I love them.
Helena says, sorry I came in late. I didn't realize we were working with kits.
Absolutely, Helena. We are indeed working with a kit, and I will say that even if you're making a larger size, these kits are up to 9 inches, and so that I will say includes most. So you will have extra head pins, you will have extra of the little beads, so you can always make the chain part of the bracelet so much longer. And that is a decorative part as well, so you kind of want to have a little bit of a balance of both sides. It's kind of the look. Okay, ladies, so what we're doing next is we are going to, and just to give you a little bit of an idea of how much extra you have. So in my samples, I have 25 of these little beads and head pins. And in the kit, you're getting 35. So you can certainly make it quite a bit longer. And there's a lot of chain as well. Okay, guys, so what we're going to do is start making loops. And eventually these are going to be wrapped loops, which we will attach to the bracelet. And of course, I am not going to finish this during the video, but we will do enough where it is so clear just exactly how to finish it. Okay, so I made a little 90-degree angle. Let's do one more. So I made a 90-degree angle on my ball pin. Once I have strung the bead onto the ball pin. And of course, we always want to leave just a little bit of space between the bead and the bend in the wire. And then we are going to use our bail making pliers. And actually, I'm going to use the smaller side of my bail making pliers, and it's just preference. So just because the little bead is kind of small and I want a smaller loop. So I'm using the smallest bail making pliers, and I'm using the small side of my small bail making pliers. I hope that all makes sense.
Cherie is wondering, can we buy these Larimar pieces in your sales?
Absolutely, Cherie. I'm so glad you mentioned that because when I do the video on September 6th, I will have some lovely Larimar, including this very same Larimar. Okay, and I am just going to make one more loop. So as you can see, I'm making the loops. I am not wrapping them just yet because, of course, they're going to be attached to the bracelet. And I'm going to start right here, right next to my crimp bead. And I am just putting the bead right into that first link next to the crimp bead right there. And we are going to use our chain nose pliers and wrap it just like you would with any wrapped loop. So you wrap it however many times you can into that little opening. I usually try for 2. And trim the wire, and then of course always kind of crimp it or tuck it in right next to the bead so that it's not sticking out at all. Okay, now we're going to use the same link to put the next one in, the next one of our little components. Again, we're right next to the same crimp cover, which now looks like a round bead.
Cherie says, I love Larimar so much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Cherie. I love Larimar as well. It's so beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to go into the very next link, except we're going on the other side of the link. So we're going into the other side of the link. And this is how we're going to make everything lay really beautifully when you wear the bracelet. Of course, it will flip-flop a little bit, but it's, you know, it's still, it looks really good when you use both sides of the link. Okay, so we're going to snip this off and again tuck in the little and. So this is what we have at this point. So you can see how each of the components sort of goes to each side of the chain link. And so with the next component, we are not going to go into the next link, but rather we're just going to skip this next link because, of course, the way the chain is made, the links, each, like the next link is always perpendicular to the previous link, and the next link is perpendicular. So we're always going to be skipping one link and going into the next link, which lays in the very same direction as the link we just used.
Cherie says cha-cha style.
Sure, we'll go with that. I know cha-cha style is something a little bit different, but I love it. We'll just call it cha-cha style. Who does not like cha-cha? I love, I love Latin dance, and I do like the cha-cha. Sometimes I cha-cha around my house. Okay, so I think I'll do one more just so that you can see the pattern really, really clearly. Okay, so in the meantime, so we have, it's like, it's like dragonfly wings. You guys can see that. So I'm going to do one more. And then I'll just grab an extra one. And one of these is going to be for the bauble at the end of the bracelet. Okay, so in the meantime, we're going to make another loop and another loop yet. And this one is going to go into the other side of the link that we have already used. So just pull that into the other side of the link, and we're going to wrap. And so if you want to have really pretty little wraps, the key is you want your working side of the wire literally perpendicular to the side with the bead on it. So you can see how it's really, really perpendicular, because this way it will coil really nicely and with very little effort. And so, okay, I was just about to do the next step, but let me first talk about this a little bit so you can see the pattern. So that's really all we're going to do. We're just going to continue the same pattern until we get to the end or until we run out of beads, whichever happens first. And then I'll show you for my bauble. And sometimes I will just use one little bead or 3 little beads, but for some reason I was in the mood to make these very full baubles at the end of this bracelet. I think it also kind of helps to weigh it down so that your larger beads are on top. So this is going to be my bauble. And all we're going to do is just go into the very last link of what is going to be our extender chain and do exactly the same thing. And I'm just making the first little component for my 5 bead bauble. And then to complete the whole thing, we're just going to make 4 more just like this one. And that's it. That's all we're going to do. So of course, we're not going to do this on camera because, well, it's really the same. And I think it's going to get a little boring if you just sit here and watch me make loops. Wouldn't you rather just make your own loops? So that's it. we're going to bead the whole chain, this side, the other side, and then we're going to make a nice full bauble with 5 beads. And that's it. At that point, our bracelet is done, and it will look just like this one. Well, I suppose it won't turn into Larimar if you are working on blue chalcedony, but it will turn into one of these bracelets. So what do you think? That's very, very easy. Wasn't that easy? Doesn't it look easy? So just a bunch of wrap loops and a little bit of knotting. And if you are starting out, or maybe you know somebody who's just starting out and making jewelry, this is actually super beginner friendly. And by the time you make all these loops, you're going to be a loop expert. Okay, ladies, so now that we're done with our project, I would love to tell you what is coming up.
Can you tell us the colorways again, please?
I would love to tell you the colorways. So we have you know what, I'm going to put the Larimar in front because, of course, that is the star of our show, right?
Kim K says, beautiful bracelet.
Thank you so much, Kim. I'm trying to make the little beads lay correctly, but sometimes they do, sometimes they're a little stubborn. So here are the colorways. We have Larimar and pearls. Then we have Kambaba and black spinel. And the one that we just made is blue chalcedony and amazonite. So I hope you picked your favorites.
Ellen says, beautiful projects. We'll watch the replay.
Thank you so much, Ellen.
Kathy K says, bracelets look lovely.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Okay, ladies, so would you like to know what's coming up? So I would love to share this with you. So first of all, I do videos most Thursdays and most Friday mornings. However, we are going on vacation, so there's no video tomorrow. No video tomorrow, August 23rd. There's also no video Thursday, August 29th. And again, there's no video Friday, August 30th. And then we come back from our vacation. And I am going to make the Elemental Harmony necklace on Thursday, September 5th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, as usual. And this is the Elemental Harmony necklace. So this is what it looks like. It's kind of delicate. It's a little bit of mixed metals, and I'm super, super excited about it.
Cherie says, could I insert little bicones between the Larimar, or will it cut the Ceylon?
You could. It will not cut the Ceylon. However, if it's the Larimar that you got or that you're getting, the bicones have too small of a hole to fit 2 strands of Ceylon. However, if you have a spacer like a bicone, maybe you don't actually need to use 2 strands of Ceylon. So if you kind of want to change it a little bit, make it your own, I would probably just use 1 strand of Ceylon. And over time, depending on the bicones, depending on how sharp the edges are, it may cut the Ceylon, but it'll take a very, very long time to wear through the Ceylon. You would literally have to wear it every day for like over a year. So I hope that answers your question.
Vanessa says, lovely.
Oh, thank you so much, Vanessa. Okay, ladies, and last but not least, our next Friday video is going to be on Friday. Well, obviously, our Friday video would be on a Friday, September 6th at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I have something really, really exciting for you on that day. we're going to have a beautiful trunk show by the very, very amazing Diane Hockey. Please let me know in the comments if you are familiar with Diane Hockey's work. She is a wonderful ceramics artist. Everything she makes is one of a kind. And they're just so pretty. The colors she uses, the themes she uses. So like for example, she might make more of these little houses, but they will all be just a little bit different. And look at this this painting, the woman with the rabbit. I mean, that is like literally a work of art. It's really, she makes amazing, amazing pieces. And I'm super excited to have her trunk show. Again, it's going to be on Friday, September 6th. We will have other things on that day as well, like pre-night and Larimar, and that is something that you guys have requested. And of course, Lori requested a few things. We'll see if we can fit it into the same video. And if we cannot, then we'll just defer it to the next video.
Kim K says, beautiful necklace too. Thank you for sharing your designs and expertise. Have a wonderful vacation.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Allie says, enjoy your vacation.
Thank you so much. For anybody who has not heard, we're going to Canada. Super, super, super excited. We're hoping to go to the amethyst mine. And if we do, and if we're allowed to, I will make a little video. So kind of look for that. And if we do end up making a little video from the amethyst mine, it will be fairly spontaneous. So I could not tell you if it's happening and when it's happening. But if it does happen, I'll be super excited to share it.
Pam says, love Diane Hockey's work.
Yay, Pam! I'm so glad that you're familiar with Diane Hockey. She is such a wonderful character. She's really fun, and she just exudes fun and talent.
Cherie says, I hope you have a wonderful vacation. Be safe and send pictures, please.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you. And you guys be safe. Enjoy. I hope the weather is beautiful wherever you are. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Again, if you have suggestions, I welcome them so much. I can't overemphasize how much we love your suggestions, because sometimes, sometimes it's really hard for me. We have this beautiful store full of amazing treasures, but I don't necessarily always know what you guys would enjoy seeing. So when you tell me, literally like at the last video, during the last video, somebody said we want pre-night, we want Larimar, and we are making it happen. And Lori, I forgot now what you said, but we have it in the comments. So one of the things I remember, you said strawberry quartz and a couple of other things. So providing that we have all of those things, which we probably do, we will absolutely make it happen. Yeah, so my point is that we absolutely appreciate your wonderful suggestions.
Lorraine says, how can we find these kits? And I just put all the links in the comments.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much for asking. So you will find the kits on the Eclectica, in the Eclectica Etsy shop. And they're going to be in the featured on Facebook section. So that's pretty much what we do. Whatever I feature on Thursdays is going to be in that section, and that is where you find them.
Vanessa says, have a wonderful vacation.
Thank you so much, Vanessa.
Lorraine says, happy vacation.
Thank you so much, Lorraine.
Karen says, safe travels. See you on the 6th.
Thank you, Lorraine. Yes, next time I will see you guys is going to be on the 6th. And I'm looking forward to the vacation. I'm also looking forward to coming back eventually. I'm sure I'll have stories. I will certainly have pictures. And I plan to share them. Okay, ladies. Again, thank you so much for the suggestions. Thank you so much for your wonderful comments. I always love the comments. It's a part of our community. That's why I do these videos. And anyway, have a wonderful and creative week or week and a half or whatever, however long it's going to be before I see you again. I think a couple of weeks. So have fun, enjoy, make something beautiful, and we will see each other soon.